Hi guys, it's me, Tom. Recently, Karen and I went on vacation to Washington, D.C. to visit Karen's niece and her family. Why, you ask? Hey, it doesn't snow in Washington, D.C.
And it doesn't show signs of stopping.
And right on schedule, here's Chris after a day at the office in downtown Washington, D.C. They live in Northern Virginia.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Her husband's name is Bill. He's a lawyer by trade. Their son is Will, a very intelligent guy and a nice guy too. Their daughter is Maggie. Effervescent is a good word to describe her, and just a little bit competitive. Rounding out the family is Tucker. What a dog. He's a showman. Watch this.
We're still goodbye. But as long as
Sit. Good boy. Stay. Stay. Okay. Oh, very nice.
When we left for vacation, it was snowing here in Madison, very common for December. In fact, there were snow plows on the airport runway to clear things off as we took off. That didn't seem to bother Karen at all, but I had my misgivings. In fact, I thought I was kind of flying in a small tin can up there in the air. But after 2 hours up in the clouds, we finally arrived at Washington, D.C. Specifically, we arrived at the Ronald Reagan International Airport. Very nice, huh? What a city Washington, D.C. is. While we were there, we traveled by train, we traveled by subway, we traveled by bus, we traveled by car. It's a great way to get around a big city. I like the big buildings, and I like all the people milling about, and all the places that you can see, like the monuments to the left and to the right. And I guess most of all, I like to see all the traffic all getting together, joining together, and somehow making it work. Of course, there's always something to gum up the works. That's your cue, President Bush. This is a presidential motorcade. They stop all access to Pennsylvania Avenue from top to bottom until it passes by. Great stuff during rush hour. For the uninitiated, the president lives here. In a big city like Washington, D.C., a lot of people take the trains to and from work. In fact, Chris travels every day to her office in downtown Washington, D.C. by train. I found that I like the slow rhythm of the train. I also found that I like the slow pace and that it affords me the time to flirt with a pretty young conductor on the train. Oops, did I say that out loud? Chris catches the train at 7:30 in the morning to begin her excursion to work, and at the end of the line, she catches the metro to take her into downtown Washington, D.C. Whoosh, very nice. Once in downtown Washington, D.C., there are monuments everywhere. That's the monument to George Washington. And here's the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. Whether you see it from close up or from far away, it is really something to see, a real piece of history. This is the World War II Memorial commemorating the soldiers who fought in that war. And I'm sure you recognize this one. That black ribbon of granite carries the name of each American soldier who died in the war in Vietnam. How many names? Over 58,000. The high point of our days in downtown Washington, D.C., of course, were the visits to the Smithsonian Institution. There is so much to see there. The gardens, even in the wintertime. The artwork in building after building was really fantastic. This particular museum building was all decked out for the holidays. And you could see everything modern and everything vintage. From time to time, though, it was just nice to sit back and enjoy the weather and the little animals. Did I mention the food? Admittance to the museums were free. The food was not, but it was very good. So all in all, that was our trip to downtown Washington, D.C. But what trip is complete without mention of the presidents of the United States, beginning with the father of our country, George Washington? And let's see if I can get the rest of them in order. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Harrison, John Tyler, James Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Chester Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland again, William McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and finally Barack Obama. That's it for our trip to Washington, D.C. Now all we have left are the memories and this darn t-shirt. That's an old joke.
It's so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And it doesn't show signs of stopping. And I brought me some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally said goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. Yeah, the fire's slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow.